So we're going to be replacing the rear motor mount on Vulcan, my 1994 Honda Accord wagon. I've got the intake manifold off, which makes this extremely easy to get to. You have a bolt here, a bolt right here, and a bolt here that you undo from the other side. These are all 17s. I'm going to support the engine and transmission from underneath with a jack and zip this off real quick. Just going to come in here and loosen these. This can be done without removing the intake manifold, but I'm already in here, so this is a whole lot easier to do. Both of the bolts that go into the bracket over here are the same exact length, so you don't have to worry about getting those mixed up. Once those bolts are off, there's one more. It's right underneath it. It's right next to the CV axle down there. This bolt can also be removed from the bottom under the car using an extension as well. This bolt is shorter than the rest of them. Okay, now we'll remove the bracket. There we go. Whoa! This mount's toast. I'm glad I got another one. This one's dead. So here's my rear motor mount, which is totally screwed. It's split open. There's just grease everywhere. That's dead. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is completely messed. So I'm gonna unhook the vacuum hose from the adaptive motor mount solenoid there. We're going to take the solenoid off and put it onto the new one. Okay, we're going to be removing these bolts on the bottom. These are all 14s. There's one in the back and two on the sides. Okay, and this guy comes out. Okay, so the actual adaptive part of the motor mount is where this vacuum solenoid is. It's held on by one clip. We can just pop that off and remove it for the new one. This linkage was completely disconnected. It had broke so much that it wasn't even in its little home anymore. So here's the old motor mount that's dead. Here's the new motor mount. I bought this one without the solenoid. I'm going to take the solenoid off of this one and put it over on this one and hook it up. On the back of these, there's a clip here on the solenoid that I'm just going to remove like so, and then this will come off. The way you can test this is you can compress it, put your finger over the vacuum port. If it stays and doesn't move, it's good, and then you can let go and it'll spring out. If you compress it and plug the hole and it just doesn't compress, then it's bad. So this one's still good. I can reuse this. This is not a problem. So I'm going to clean this up and I'm going to get it put onto the new one. Okay, to put the solenoid back on, I'm just going to take the solenoid and put the arm through the hole, and this will need to be facing up like that. You just pop the post into the little bushing in here. Okay, when you put the linkage back together, it should look like this. This is a little hard to get done. Basically, you flatten the rubber out as much as possible, and then you stick this linkage in and push it. You got to brace it from the back and then push it in. So we got our clip. We're going to kind of squish this together and then put our clip in. Now, here we go. Okay, that's on there now. So that's the new motor mount with the solenoid installed. Let's go put it on. Alright, I've cleaned that. Okay, so I went through a brake cleaner and sprayed the subframe down, scrubbed it up, and that way it gives it a nice surface. It looks like there's provisions for an alternate type of mount. There's like 3 bolt holes in the front and 2 in the back. So this has provisions for what I would imagine to be the manual mount. Set this on low and just bump these down. I'll hook my vacuum line back up. There you go. Pay close attention to the angle that you take this bracket off, because you're going to need it to put it back on the exact same way. And it's a little tricky. There's a little cutout right below where this bolt goes on the left that you can wiggle over this triangle coming off of the back of the engine. Okay, we're going through and we're getting these bolts lined up. We're going to get these bolts lined up on the block first. And we get the one that's on the bottom. This bottom one's a pain to get lined up, I can tell. Okay, to get the bottom bolt lined up, I just push down on the mount. That way it keeps the top bolts lined up, and you have them loose, so when you push it down, it lines up that hole for the bottom. So these are lightly in. They're not tightened down yet. I'm going to take this bolt and get it through the motor mount. I may have to raise the jack just a little bit to get these to line up. Yeah, it looks like. There it goes. And I'm just going to come through and loosen the motor mount bolt slightly. Make sure I get this lined up right. Yeah, that's much easier. So I'm going to get everything torqued up like this, and then I'll tighten the motor mount bolts down after I get everything tightened. That way it doesn't put undue stress on the motor mount. Now I'll tighten down the motor mount bolts again. Alright, now we let the jack down. And for just in case, I'm going to loosen and retighten the through bolt on the motor mount here. Now that it's been let off the jack. And retighten it there, and that should be perfect. Well, that looks pretty good. I cleaned up the bracket. So new motor mount and clean bracket.